Please explain the difference between a doula and a midwife.
Okay, so the doulas, the midwife has different knowledge base, not a whole lot different. And actually, a doula should aspire to learn midwifery on some level. It doesn't have to be everything. But a midwife tends to look after the mom throughout her pregnancy. A doula may step in around the 5th month, the 6th month, the 7th month, even the 8th month. But a midwife is looking after a mom throughout her pregnancy. And so she has technical knowledge, like how the baby's growing, how the mom's doing, everything, trying to keep everything within the range of normal. Blood pressure, temperature, any illnesses, lab work she does and looks at and reviews, the urinalysis she looks at. So it's more, she does a little more of the medical aspect of it. Listening to baby's heart tones, um, and just addressing whatever. Like sometimes moms have nausea at the beginning of their pregnancy. So addressing those types of challenges. But see, that's where the doula can also do that. The doula's job more is to empower the mom. The midwife makes sure all is well. The doula empowers the mom through education, and addressing whatever issues could possibly interfere with the labor journey. So those issues could be like feeling unsupported. So she does provide that support. And during the labor, the doula needs to know what the mother needs to be doing at any given point in each stage. There's 3 stages. So what is she doing in the first stage? What is she doing in the second stage? What is she doing in the third stage? And actually, she does a lot more work because the midwife is on the set, but she's the one that's, well, let me see how the baby's doing. I'm gonna listen to the heartbeat. Let me take your blood pressure, make sure nothing is changing, everything's going normally. She might examine the mother, maybe or maybe not, to see how far along she is. Some mothers want that, some mothers don't. And so she'll do that kind of thing. And also once the baby has descended and mom's feeling pushy, ready to push the baby out, then the midwife is there to make sure that that happens normally. She may be hands on, she may be hands off, depends on what's going on. But the doula's job is to take care of mom, not deliver the baby. So that's a difference. She doesn't really have to know what the heart tones are. It just helps when she hears the midwife say the baby's heart tone is low, then the doula's thinking, oh, we got to change positions. The baby's at station 0, then the doula's thinking we got to change positions, a squat or something to help baby descend, or if mom has a backache or back labor, the doula knows about pelvic anatomy, which is important. And so she knows how to address a backache or stuff like that.
Do you believe all pregnant women should have a doula?
I absolutely do. And it's so interesting because that's only really been a thing in the 21st century. But when I took doula training, which was like 20 some years ago, somewhere in the 90s, nobody ever really heard of a doula. And it definitely wasn't something in the Black community. So it usually came out like, well, my mother's going to be there, my boyfriend's going to be there, my husband's going to be, like, I don't know what it, because they thought a doula was a cheerleader, the cheering section. But that's not what they do. In a hospital setting, the doula is an advocate. In a home birth setting, The doula is basically taking care of the mom, but she's also taking care of the other people in the house. So if the husband is there, she's already went through educating him and empowering him and bringing him into the process, which is really, really important. And sometimes men don't know how important and critical they are to a mother's birth journey. So, but in a hospital setting, she's an advocate because hospitals have a standard of care and it's not always evidence-based. And that's where it can become a little tricky. And that's why doula is important. You send a mom to a hospital all by herself, maybe with her husband or her boyfriend or mother, whatever, whatever, and you'll have medical people flowing in and out of your room just doing stuff without you having any real knowledge of it, but you're consenting. But see, that's turning over your power. So a doula empowers you. So even in a hospital setting, you can get the best birth outcome possible and feel good about it.
Do you believe the by more women having a doula, it would
Mm-hmm.
reduce the mortality rate amongst African American women?
Yes, yes, because she's able to explain to the mother what's inside the range of normal, what's outside of the range of normal, you know, and so that helps her make informed decisions about her health. And sometimes in a hospital setting, of course, one of the main reasons is because, especially with Black women, um, their concerns can be dismissed or brushed over. Not it could be because they're Black, but it doesn't mean every medical person is a racist or anything. It just means it could mean they're busy. You know what I'm saying? But then there is a mindset that dates back to 1800s or further that says Black women or Black people in general don't feel pain the way other people feel pain, so they're dismissed more often, and so that can be dangerous, and having a perspective as a medical person of how it's supposed to go can make you dismiss. She's like, I'm ready to push. Yeah, you can't be. You were just 4 centimeters 30 minutes ago. So she's not listening.
In the 1970s, right, the rate of C-sections in the U.S. was a mere 5%. By 2019, it was more than 30%. Insurance companies pay doctors more for C-sections than vaginal pregnancies. What are some things women should consider before agreeing to a C-section procedure?
It depends on what the reason is. I mean, I've seen women whose blood pressures were high, very high. So they were in preeclampsia and bordering on eclampsia. And so in that case, the mantra is better to get the baby out because then that resolves the issue. So just being fully informed as to why they're recommending a C-section. Some women go for prenatal appointments. They're 37 weeks pregnant, and their doctor or caregiver will say, listen, we're going to schedule you for a C-section. Well, that's not evidence-based. Why? You understand what I'm saying? Or they'll say, well, baby's too big or too small after an ultrasound. But they're not always accurate. As a matter of fact, a lot of times they're not that accurate. It's like, oh, your baby's too big. He's almost 9 pounds. And then the baby's born and the baby's like 8'3" or less. It's just not accurate. So, yeah, you have to know the reasons, and that's what we talk to moms about. What makes a C-section necessary. So blood pressure may make it necessary. An issue with baby's heartbeat could be necessary, maybe not, because maybe you could just change mom's position. Because in a hospital birth, they have you what we call hustling backwards. You're on your back, you got a monitor here and a monitor there. You may be semi-reclining, or semi-sitting, whatever, but the baby still has to navigate that birth canal. So sometimes that'll cause the heartbeat to drop, especially if you're using medications like pitocin. Pitocin, there's a thing where you can get a domino effect, and pitocin, you didn't ask me about. Well, we could talk about pitocin, okay? So pitocin is a synthetic hormone. It's a hormone that your body produces naturally, except it does not act like the natural hormone. It increases or intensifies contractions. The hormone your body produces contractions, but it also balances out the intensity and the pain and the discomfort because it crosses that barrier in your brain that handles pain. Pitocin doesn't do that. So it does increase contractions, but it's harder to handle. And it also sometimes it affects the baby. So it may make the baby's heartbeat drop. Because if it's added pressure on your uterus to push the baby out, it's added pressure on the baby. So now they're talking about, well, the baby's heartbeat is dropping, it doesn't look too good. If things are not moving along the next hour or so, we should talk about a C-section. So what do you want to do in that case? Oh yeah, sometimes in a hospital setting, they're kind of managing your labor journey. You know what I'm saying? So they'll put you on a time frame. And in their mind, this happens in the first stage, second stage, third stage. And this is how long that lasts, this is how long that lasts, this is how long that lasts. So you go over that time frame. You see what I'm saying? And so that's when they may talk to you about a C-section. Or what they'll do is before the C-section conversation, they'll start with the pitocin because you've been too long in your first stage of labor or even in your second stage of labor. And so we want to hurry it up a little bit. We're just going to get your labor started and get it a little stronger. And that's how they talk to you. And we're going to give you a little pitocin. We're going to start you off with a low dose. But like you said, sometimes there's a strategy behind that. Because they start you off with, those IV things, 2 drops per minute or whatever of pitocin. And they come back in an hour and raise it up to 4. And they come back in another hour, raise it up to 8. You know what I'm saying? And the whole time that's increasing your contractions stronger and stronger and stronger so you can get through the process. And they're telling you that's to help you move along. You know what I'm saying? But one of the solutions that I work with is I tell a mom after we've been through a month or 2 of education and meetings and talkings and practice and all the stuff we need to do. And I tell her, when you go into labor, don't go to the hospital. Call me. Because I'm going to keep you home. I'm going to keep you home and you can have a natural labor for as long as you can. And then when you feel you're ready, because it's always mom's choice, she knows what she can handle, what she can't handle, you just try to encourage her. And then when she's ready, she goes to the hospital. A lot of times I've done that, and they didn't have time to do all the interventions.
Why do you believe African American women have a substantially higher rate of premature births than white American women?
Basically, stress is what in our neighborhoods is a lot of being unsupported, not having any kind of knowledge of how to carry a baby, and maybe they're doing the same things they were doing before they were pregnant. Maybe they're drinking, maybe they're smoking, maybe there's a lot of stress in their home environment, lack of medical follow-up or medical prenatal care, poor diet. And poor diet, I think, plays a big part, as well as stress. And stress is a mindset. It's the mindset that she had when she became pregnant, the mindset she had before she was pregnant, the mindset she carries throughout her pregnancy. And it's amazing because you see moms get angry. That's not a good thing. You see moms in certain neighborhoods getting angry and getting into fights. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't think that's usually the case. But I just think it's a lack of knowledge and stress, because stress is not the hormone you want to be releasing into your body, that fight or flight freeze hormone. So basically, that's what I think does that. And just the normal, because in our neighborhoods and in our communities, we're met with everything in terms of racism, institutionalized racism, you know. So when we go to the doctor, doctors can stress you out a lot, you know. Yeah, they do. Um, and just what's going on in your home environment, you know. And I think your mental state, like, do you what? I've known women that could not connect with the pregnancy and could not connect with the idea that they were having a baby. Or, you know, a mindset is definitely a thing. You don't want it, you're not paying attention, all those kinds of things.
Recent studies have shown black women are 3 times more likely to die during childbirth than white women in America.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you believe the rate of mortality during pregnancy is so high amongst African American women?
Mm-hmm. That kind of segues with premature birth. It's kind of the same type of reasons, you know, but basically, I think their concerns are ignored by medical people or overlooked, not seen, downplayed, all that kind of stuff. You read of women that had C-sections and, you know, hour or two later, mom's in a lot of pain, not normal pain, but she's being flagged like, you just had a baby, you know. That's normal. It's not normal. And then continue to complain and continue to be ignored for hours until somebody decides to check them out and has found they have hemorrhaged from that C-section and they don't make it. You know, and it's the same thing with Serena Williams. Serena Williams. She had clots, but she was prone to clots. And I've known women like that too. They probably had been on blood thinners. Maybe she came off of them to have the baby. I don't know, but I'm just saying she had clots and she knew the signs. She knew how she felt. And so that should be enough, because you got to take a woman's concern as her knowing her own body versus I'm the doctor and I know more than you do about your body. How's that work? You see what I'm saying? So she complained. I need to have a CT scan. I need to see if there's clots going on because I can feel it because I've been there. And it almost cost her life. She literally had to get up out of the bed and walk down the hall after having a baby and lean over the nurse's station and demand it. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, and I think that having a doula will reduce that because mom is informed and doula is watching out.
Do you think it's I've experienced this in education. Do you feel it's unrealistic to believe that the racism that's ingrained in our society wouldn't be present in the medical field even when we're dealing with having children?
There is not an institution in the United States of America, period, medical, judicial, educational, you name it. I want somebody to point one out to me. But there is not an institution in America that has our best interests at heart. It's not designed that way. And certainly isn't designed that way in the medical institution. It just is not. And that's why you get like our babies tend to be a different weight than maybe European babies or white babies. White babies can be a little bit more plumper and heavy, 8 pounds, 9 pounds. We tend to have 6, 7, maybe 8 pound babies. Our babies are small. You know, for them that's abnormal because the standard is they're the standard. So when we don't come up to that standard, then that's a problem as far as they're concerned. You know, and then comes all kinds of unnecessary interventions, which is not good for us.
What are some examples of those interventions?
In terms of,
After a woman has a child and the child may not meet the European standard of a
oh,
healthy baby.
okay, then you start to get that um, comments about your inadequacy. Well, your breast milk isn't going to be enough because your baby's kind of small. So we're going to suggest that you supplement the breast milk with formula. So those types of interventions, and basically, and not much more than that I know of. But when you bring your baby in for his first or second prenatal appointment, and they measure him on the chart, and so what it does is it makes you concerned, it makes you stressed. Well, my baby's not big enough, and then you try to do more, and really your baby's fine. You know, it's just not a 9 pound baby. Yeah, and it may be because mom is small, dad is small, or even if they're average size. You know what I'm saying? Our babies are not that, not they don't come up to white standards, in other words. So because the institution isn't constructed with us in mind at all. Yeah.
What nutrients and vitamins should women add to their diet during pregnancy and after pregnancy?
I've heard midwives and other medical people say if the diet that you have been on before you were pregnant was working for you, you don't need to change it that much. They might want you to add some things. Um, but really, it's general overall nutrition that you really should be eating even if you're not pregnant. Your proteins, your carbohydrates, your folate, especially moms in the beginning of pregnancy, certain vitamins and nutrients do certain things. Of course, everything goes to the baby, so everything's helping the baby form. So your B vitamins help the nervous system, your proteins for the muscles, your carbohydrates for the energy. Of course, your vitamin A, your vitamin C is good for your bones and bone development. Folate, which is sometimes they call it folic acid, but folic acid is a synthetic, I guess you call it vitamin or mineral. It's synthetic. Folate is what you want out of your foods. So your beans, your grains, your dairy. Dairy doesn't have to necessarily be cow milk. Maybe you drink almond milk. Maybe you drink, hemp milk, soy milk. But you need some kind of dairy. Yogurts are good. Dark leafy green vegetables. Yeah, iron, important.
Please explain what is postpartum.
Okay, so postpartum is immediately after baby's born, and it generally refers to the mother. Postnatal refers to the baby. So postpartum is sometimes called the fourth trimester. And each trimester of pregnancy, the first trimester, the second and third, they last 3 months and make up the 9 months. And then you have the fourth trimester, which could ideally be another 3 months. And that's a time period immediately after birth, um, when mom is healing. And it's really, really important for her to heal. And that's another issue. We're working with it though. Where usually moms, you got a month off from your job, but you really need a good month and a half or more, so it's a healing process. Um, just time to be home, time for her body to come back together after baby's born, time to be nurtured, very important. So those are some of the things that we overlook, especially the nurturing part that moms need. Yeah, that's very important. Other places in other parts of the world, that's what moms get for the next 40 days after baby's born. And that's what we ideally should be able to do.
Can you speak
Hmm.
on the nurture of the mother more? Because I've, in my experience, I noticed all the attention is put on the child in regards to nurture and care, but no attention is put towards the mother in regards to her nurture and care.
Yeah.
So, could you just elaborate more on what nurture would look like for a mother who just had birth?
What it would look like, she gets the first 2 weeks or more, maybe 3 weeks, she gets to stay in her bed or stay at least in her bedroom. She's not up and down the steps. She's not in and out the door. It does not look like I just brought the baby home and I got to run to the store. Doesn't look like that. You know, the village, meaning her parents, maybe her husband's parents, maybe her sister, maybe her neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Meals she should have. You want to plan postpartum too, just like you plan the birth. So you want to plan postpartum. Who's bringing your meals? Who's taking care of a little bit of laundry? Who's washing the dishes? Your job is to bond with the baby, get familiar with the baby, let your body heal. Your village or your tribe's job is to nurture you, take care of you, give you a chance to take a shower and hold the baby for you. Take a nap if you want to. It was hard work having a baby. It was hard work carrying a baby. After baby is here, you want mom to heal, and sometimes that might not happen, and moms do feel unsupported, and that can cause depression. I've seen moms that were deserted immediately after birth, or just still has to come home to another handful of children, to one, two, or three, and has to figure out how to juggle this newborn with these other children, and dinner needs to be cooked, and perhaps the husband is looking at her like, that's what women do, you know. So we forget how sacred birth is, and to have a woman become the portal between one world and the next, and for us to go about our business like that wasn't no big thing, is not it, And so we don't always plug into the sacred aspect of birth. We plug into the material aspect of it, the physical aspect of it, the um, the medical aspect of it. Yeah, and we don't plug into that because that's not the way we think, you know. But we got to learn to think that way. It's time to switch that around. We need to come back to our sacred reality of who we are as human beings, not citizens of America or anything else.
Do you recommend women breastfeed their newborn baby or just use like
Yeah,
formula,
yeah.
right?
Okay, so I mean, it just makes a whole lot of sense. You know what I mean? And again, we're coming back to the sacred, which is really, God made women with breasts to feed their babies. And the milk that's provided through the breast to the babies improves baby's immune system, helps them to ward off certain diseases, um, ear infections, asthma, and um, it, so formula doesn't do that. And of course, formula, you can imagine giving a baby formula, and have you ever read the ingredients? You know what I'm saying? Oh my goodness. And so you're giving a newborn, you're setting them up. You're setting them up. And he's more prone to diseases taking formula. And I'm not disclaiming anything because sometimes, for whatever reason, you want to give thanks that if you cannot breastfeed, maybe formula is the option, unless you can get breast milk from another mother. But ideally, it builds up the baby's immune system, um, and gives him all the nutrients that a human baby needs in breast milk. Much better for him. Digestion, everything.
Should America provide mandatory parenting classes for all new parents?
And my initial gut reaction is no. Because, and I'm just saying that, it's not, sometimes, you have to do whatever, but no, the village should and the community should. So now, if you got a nonprofit somewhere or something's government funded at a rec center or something like that, you can do it that way. But the people involved in working with mothers and fathers to be better parents should be from the village.
What do you believe are the factors that contribute to the high rate of preeclampsia in black women?
I'm going to say initially diet. Um, and our diet, the way we eat, goes all the way back to the food we got off of the slave master's table. You know, lard, hog maws, whatever, chitlins, and it goes all the way back that far. And then, so it's genetic. You ask a woman, like, you have high blood pressure. My mom has it, my father has it, my aunt has it, my sister has it. So it can be in the family, but I think it goes to diet, basically. I think that if you were born eating in a certain way, healthier foods, that would be less of an issue. I don't know if you can go to another country, like, or continent, like Africa, and find the rate of high blood pressure that you find here.
And in regards to high blood pressure, do you believe it's a mixture of stress, being black in America, and diet, or is it mostly diet?
I couldn't say it was mostly one or the other. I do believe it's diet, definitely diet, and I think it can be controlled when you change your diet. But certainly stress, if you have it, go ahead and get stressed and it will shoot right on up. Yep. Yeah. So stress is definitely a thing, but and we normally are stressed. I mean, what's on our plates is incredible sometimes. So we really have to learn. We can only work with each other and ourselves. We can't wait for anybody else to fix anything. And like say, don't cause us stress. You gotta take control over what you allow to stress you and what you don't.
So what's the proper term they say for stress? I don't know if they say coping mechanism, but things they could do to kind of deal
Oh,
with stress better.
offset their stress. And it seems to me you would end up taking one situation at a time. First of all, being aware of it, being aware that we have triggers. Once you're aware of your triggers, you can decide how you want to react to your triggers, what you want to do instead of reacting to your triggers. So that's the way you can handle stress. You got to be aware of it. And of course, you can add to that meditation, whatever your meditation is. Maybe you want to sit on a cushion. Maybe you want to go for a walk. Maybe you want to lay in the park. You know what I mean? What can you do to offset whatever's triggering you? And the more you do that, the more it becomes a habit. So developing habits that are not stressful.
What are the benefits in your experience of living a holistic life, and what would you recommend to others who are trying to live a more holistic life?
Okay, so I'm just kind of trying to plug into what you mean by holistic life. The journey is ongoing. You know, everybody has levels. You know, this one doesn't eat any dairy, this one doesn't eat any meat, this one does herbs, this one. So you're always at different states and stages of your journey to become a whole, healthy mind, body, spirit, and soul human being. You know, so you want to know what made where I'm at?
Yeah, regards to just your journey, like how did you get into it? You know, how did you more kind
Okay, so
of embrace a certain
honestly,
lifestyle?
I first of all, I'm 65 years old, and back in the day, the idea of herbs and holistic life wasn't really a thing in my family, so I had no pattern to follow. So the only thing is that I've always been a bit of a rebel, and I didn't buy all the messages that America would sell you. Like I have a family member who will actually say, "I eat the American diet." I can't tell her not to. You know what I'm saying? But I just kind of grew into it, and I'm still growing into it. I haven't fully, I mean, I don't know if you ever fully live holistically, but you're addressing every aspect of yourself. What stressed you, what your triggers are, what you eat, how you think, how you do self care. Um, you balancing out the messages that America gives you. Here, take this pill, take that pill. You know what I'm saying? This will help you work harder. This will help you work faster. Is that a good thing? you know. So yeah, I just don't subscribe to all the messages, and I look for healing. That's what you gotta do. Look for your own healing. Look for it, and claim it and do it, no matter what anybody else is doing.
You have years and years of experience as a doula. Um, Obviously, you work with many people. The question I have for you: what can men do to assist in the pregnancy before birth and after birth?
Okay, so that's one of my favorite parts of working with a mom is tapping into her partner or her husband, because generally men think that they have little to do with it except for making the baby, you know. But they have one of the biggest roles out there, very, very important. You make your wife feel safe, you make her feel loved, you know what I'm saying, all during the pregnancy. And we have no idea sometimes about how important that is. What a mom's feeling is transferred to the baby. And you'll see babies come out with a little bit of whatever was going on while they were in there. You know what I'm saying? So, not disregarding her, nurturing her, drawing her bath, rubbing her feet, getting her a meal here and there, making a cup of tea. You know what I'm saying? Spending time, watching a movie, going for a walk. Don't take that as a small thing. That's not a small thing. She feels really good that you're right there by her side when she's carrying this baby. And then when she goes into labor, that's what I say. Same thing that got the baby in there is the same thing that gets the baby out. Okay? So it was the love hormone and the feel good hormones that got the baby in there. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going to get the baby out. And you bring that. You bring that. So that thing where men think that they got to sit in the waiting room or pace around until mom's ready to push or something. You're the one that's going to help that labor flow smoothly. So, even if I'm there as the doula, I'm not getting in your way. You know what I mean? When she needs to move and stand up and rock, I'm put y'all two together. You know what I mean? When things seem to be going slow, it's a little stalled, that's when you want to get up in her ear and give her that's how important you are. And men don't always know that, and that kind of bothers me. I really want them to know that just because the being pregnant is not just her issue. You know what I mean? You're a part of it, and you go on that journey right along with her and enjoy yourself.
I've always had a question in regards to childbirth.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it goes against the laws of gravity, I guess, that a woman will be laying down backwards, but the baby's supposed to come out. Wouldn't it make more sense to like stand up and squat?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it would. And that's one thing we definitely teach women as soon as we start working with them, maybe a month or two ahead of time, before baby's born. We call laying down being strapped to a bed, and they're not necessarily flat on their back. The back of the bed may be raised a little bit, but it's still, I call it hustling backwards. It works against gravity. And then just understanding the physiology and the anatomy of the pelvis. That's amazing. What a woman's body has to do to allow the baby out. How if she has knowledge of what her pelvis area is like, the inlet, the mid pelvis, the outlet, she gets to understand which movement does what. So movement is key. Positions are key. Laying on your back is not key. You definitely want to be able to move because you're navigating your own pelvis. You're rocking it, you're rocking the baby, you're helping the baby find its way through.
Are you familiar with the history why they started like women laying back?
I'm not familiar with the history, but this is what I've come to understand, heard, maybe read. It's doctor's convenience. It's convenient. They got a whole view. So it's convenient. And they're the medical people. And pregnancy, labor, and birth is a medical issue. Not. You understand what I'm saying? Not. It's not. It's not a medical issue. It's not a pathology. But they tend to treat it like that. So it just makes it easier for them to access the baby. And then, of course, if there's an issue with the baby coming out and they got to implement some instrument of some sort, then that's because something was wrong with you. I've seen babies get stuck, something they call shoulder dystocia, in a hospital setting. And in my mind, which was not what happened in that hospital setting, and that baby is about 11 years old now. But the solution was to change the mom's position and augment the space in the pelvis, and boom. You see what I'm saying?